I'm Tyler.
And I'm Sadie.
And we're here with the Great Catholic Book Club to talk to you about our February book of the month, Starship Troopers by Robert A. Heinlein.
This is our February book of the month, and oh my goodness, we have had so many discussions about this book in the last few weeks in our house that I regret. I wish that we just followed, I wish that I'd followed us around with a recorder.
Right.
For the content of the video, because now I'm like, how are we going to remember all the brilliant things that I said at 3 o'clock in the morning to you?
Right.
Or in the car or whatever.
Yeah.
But we'll do our best. We'll do our best. This book has so much depth to offer for discussion. I'm going to be super critical of the book, just so you know. I'm going to have a lot of things to say.
She has very strong feelings about this book.
I have very strong feelings about this book. But, I appreciate that it's opening the venue for that. The first thing that I thought of was, like the title of our video, The Myth of the Atheist Utopia. So this is a thing I've noticed in science fiction repeatedly.
Yep.
So many science fiction books do this, that there's just no God.
Yep.
Somehow it's this atheist, perfectly stable, healthy, happy utopia.
Yeah.
And if we just got rid of God and if we just created a perfectly rational world, then everything would work out and we would have peace, we would have stability.
Yep.
A lot of that is like what Brave New World tried to push. And this book reminded me a lot of Brave New World.
Yeah, it had a lot in common with Brave New World.
So this myth of an atheist utopia and the idea that we'll rely on rationality, okay, where did our rationality come from? So a lot of this myth is focused on the idea of, okay, God is irrational, faith is irrational, and seeing God as the source of oppression, people misusing religion to just wield things over others. Okay, fine. But if we ignore the entire idea of God and we just say we're going to rely on human reason and human rational capacity, all atheists go back to this idea that there's just this objective, universal moral code written in the universe, and we all just know what it is.
Right.
Right?
It's almost as if there's something written on our hearts.
Right. But there's no God to tell us what that code is.
Right.
We can rely on our own reason and our own rational deductions, not to say that those things aren't useful, right? Or that we're not supposed to use our reason, our capacity for reason, but that we can rely on it alone to know everything we need to know. So what you end up with is basically a dictatorship of the intellectual elite.
Yeah.
Right? People who believe that they know better than everybody else.
Yep.
And they can read the moral code, the scientific moral code, as Heinlein talks about in Starship Troopers.
Yeah.
And then they can just impose it on everybody. And it's always through the use of force.
Yep.
So you realize all of these things boil down to military dictatorships. They're all a police state.
Yeah.
See, now we've created a perfect utopia where an intellectual elite gets to rule over all the other lower quality humans, and they get to wield military force to do so. And aren't you so much happier in this world without God? That's what ends up happening. And that's something I see Heinlein really pushing as a great outcome. So anyway, I love science fiction, but I've noticed that again and again, it comes up against this. And we're not even getting into the fact that original sin, you can't have perfect human rationality. That's not how it works. We can talk about that a little bit later. But the other thing that really was frustrating me about this book is that Mr. Dubois, his moral philosophy and history teacher, said that man has no moral instinct.
Yeah.
Right? Whatsoever.
Right.
Well, but at the same time, man is also the one that trains the moral instinct into other men. Right? Into other people.
Right.
He likens it to training a dog. He basically says that training a human being is not any different than training a dog.
Yeah.
Humans are just animals, like anything else. But then what gives some human beings the right to impose this moral training on other human beings?
I will guarantee you that the people at the top of the Federation don't see themselves as dogs.
Yeah. They don't believe that they have no human, no moral instinct at all, or that they were born without it. And if man has no moral instinct, how do you explain any moral code at all.
Right.
Right? Where did
Right.
it come from?
Right.
Where did the first human beings, with no moral instinct apparently, decide to come up with an ordering of society?
Right.
Right? And also, like, if animals have no, we won't call them moral instincts because animals don't have a moral sense, but animals have some sort of social order instinctively written into them.
Yeah.
Right? Especially when you get to some species that have like very complex social hierarchies. And they do train and form their members into that hierarchy and into that social order, right? And so if even animals do it demonstrably, how does Heinlein have a character make the claim that humans don't do that?
Right.
How are we animals, but somehow stupider than every other animal that's ever existed? You know, this is basically just, it's a very dehumanized view of human nature. And I was talking to a friend of mine about this book too and saying, like, I felt like it was a very ugly book because of that.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's focused on this idea of behaviorism. Like, human beings are nothing more than just being conditioned by consequences.
Right.
Not even rewards.
No, not even rewards.
It's all stick, no carrot.
Yep. And ultimately, like, the purpose of all this conditioning is so that they can be used. That's the ugly part, right? It's not for their own human flourishing. It's not out of love for the individual. It's so that you can turn an individual into somebody who can be of use to the system. Like you're using people, and that's all there is to it. It's using people for the purpose of perpetuating the Federation.
I think he tries to dress it up in this language that, well, you're making people useful, right? Let's put it another way. We're not using people, we're making them useful.
Right.
Right? To their country. We're making them useful citizens. We're making them useful to the common good. Well, I'm not saying that's a bad end, right? To be a person who can contribute to the common good. But absolutely, in this novel, it's really just turning people into useful means of perpetuating the power of the Federation. The whole point of the system in this book is for people who are in power to stay in power. Right? And that's ultimately what it is. So that's the height of what they want out of human beings. So we were talking about how C.S. Lewis's Abolition of Man really ties in a lot to this book because C.S. Lewis talks a lot about the point and purpose of education in Abolition of Man. And one of the things he says is, like, when you are looking at educating a human child, it's the difference between the adult chickens looking at the outcome they want for chicks versus what the poultry farmer wants for the outcome of the chicks. Right? The Federation is not functioning like adult chickens looking after their young chicks. It's what the poultry farmer wants out of their product.
Are the chicks being raised to be the best chickens, or are they being raised just to produce poultry for the farmer?
Yeah, meat, right? They're made to be used, made to be used up and reproduce just so more people can be used up. So yeah, I mean, it's, how can you call that a perfect society, right? It's based on compulsion, that we can have a perfect society if we have enough force and if we have enough bribery. And a lot of the justifications about this in the novel are, well, look, any other way, do you remember back in those dark ages where law and order broke down, society broke down, people didn't feel safe going to the parks with their families, and we stepped in and we imposed law and order, right? That's a very common justification for a military state or for a police state. Is, look, we keep the floor up. Don't worry about the ceiling. Don't worry about human excellence, you know, heights of like artistic or empathic brilliance, right? We're not going after that. It's just law and order around here, right? Don't you want to feel safe going to the park?
And Heinlein isn't wrong about the problem. Like, he is diagnosing a real problem, the same as C.S. Lewis was in The Abolition of Man, that you have a society that is forming weak, ineffectual adults. Crime is out of control. People are not safe to go to the park. So he's diagnosing a real problem, but his prescription without God is a tyrannical police state.
He diagnoses the problem correctly when he says, you're raising a generation of people who have no sense of duty and responsibility to the common good or public order. They're not invested in how their society functions. They don't care about making sure that you actually do have a safe, healthy country, and that it perpetuates over generations. So that's true. You do need to have a sense of duty. You need to have a sense of buy-in. You have to care about your country. You have to care about your society.
Right.
But his prescription is, well, if we just beat people enough, they will obey the law, which is true, okay? That's not rocket science. If you're under threat of force and compulsion, it is going to modify your behavior. But teaching people through force to comply with the rules is not the same thing as instilling a deep sense of duty and buy-in and love for your society. That is not what that's teaching people, right? Like, conditioning behavior is not the same thing as forming values.
Amen.
Conditioning and formation are two different things. So how do you actually teach people to love their country, to care about their neighbors, like love of neighbor, the desire to actually build something beautiful? Well, you can't just say, well, look, just, threaten them with consequences enough, and eventually that happens. That's... And I think Heinlein in Starship Troopers, he had a really good point about the importance of teaching those fundamental values. You do want to teach people to love their country and all of that. And everything that he was talking about with moral philosophy, with history, you do want to understand history. You do want to understand what could go wrong when people stop having that investment, and that love of their country. His end goal was to teach that the use of force, right, is the most important thing you can do to condition a society. And this is something that is a very real life issue we're dealing with today when we're talking about the policing of like low income, high crime neighborhoods, right?
Yeah, you were talking about that.
Yeah. Well, okay, so I did my undergrad in criminal justice, and it's basically a sociology degree, right? And we studied so many of the social roots, the research into, the intersection of crime, poverty, oppression, racism, classism. I mean, just it boils down to the dehumanization of people from external sources and internal sources, right? The internal degradation of the self. And in a lot of low-income communities, when you see a clamor for an increased police presence, right, saying like, oh, well, go into these high crime, low income areas and just make sure there's more boots on the ground. There's more police, there's more patrols. The people asking for that are the people who live in those areas. Right. And this was something that I think doesn't get talked enough about, is that, there's people who live there saying like, I don't want to live in a neighborhood where if I send my kids out to play, they're selling drugs on the street corner, or there's drive-by shootings. Like, we want our neighborhood safer, and so we want police presence in here. So that's totally reasonable. In a lot of ways, there are people say we want the law and order. We want, I don't want to say we want a military state or we want a police state, but there's a legitimacy to people who say we want the external imposition, the use of force if necessary, to keep things peaceful in this neighborhood and to calm things down so that law-abiding citizens can live and raise their families. That's totally legitimate, and it's heartbreaking for people to go through stuff like that. But on the other hand, there's an equal call to say, when you have all of this increased police presence, you have all of this increased, police state activity in a neighborhood, that has a very chilling effect on people's dignity. Okay, it can feel very dehumanizing. It can feel like you're suspected of being a criminal or of wrongdoing right away. So it's not good for morale. It's not good for actually like encouraging the sort of sense of inner dignity that people need. Right, for real healing. And we do live in a fallen world. And so there's a lot of brokenness and a lot of imperfection. And so there are going to be unlawful detainments. There are going to be wrongful arrests. There are going to be false imprisonments. There's going to be police brutality. There's going to be wrongful use of force. That's just going to happen. No system is perfect. And just by raw statistical reality, the more interactions you have with the police, the more likely you are to increase your likelihood of having those negative interactions, right? So that's just going to happen. And so is it really fair for a person who just is born into a lower income environment, into a high crime environment through no fault of their own, okay, and maybe they are doing the kinds of things that all kids do, right? Maybe their higher income counterpart is growing up in the suburbs somewhere, and, you know, both teenagers. So we're talking about hypothetical. We got a couple of 14-year-old boys.
Right.
One is a black kid from like a low-income neighborhood. One is a white kid growing up in an upper-class suburb. And they're both doing the same things that 14-year-olds do. They're you know, experimenting with marijuana. They're experimenting with alcohol. They're engaging in like petty delinquent behavior.
Yeah.
Lord forbid that I normalize this, right? Like, I'm not saying that's a normal thing or a good thing, but I'm saying that when childhoods go wrong or when kids go off the rail, it can look the same in both of those situations.
Sure.
But that rich kid is going to have almost zero chance of being caught by the police.
Yeah.
Right? And almost zero chance of anything negative happening. And chances are he's just going to outgrow it because people do, right? They outgrow those behaviors. And whereas the kid in the poor neighborhood is far more likely, because of that increased police presence and pressure, to get caught, to get in trouble, to end up in the justice system, to end up having his life ruined, to have the opportunities for him to outgrow, right? And like really thrive, that's going to be completely taken from him.
Yeah.
And so the solution that Heinlein never gets around to when he's saying that like all this police force, all this military force, all this law and order stuff, that's going to fix the problem. Jesus told us from the beginning, okay, the thing that fixes the problem has to come from our hearts.
Yeah.
It has to come from individuals who want to live well and love their neighbor. It has to come from families that are places of love and safety and stability.
Yeah.
And it is a grassroots thing where this sort of beauty and this sort of love builds up. And you could be talking about like horrible war-torn parts of the world. You could be talking about, you know, here in Iowa, like how many small farm town communities have been devastated by drug epidemics.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, you'd be talking about anywhere. And when it comes down to it, throwing force and like an authoritarian dictatorship on it is not going to fix it.
Yeah.
Okay, because you are not respecting the dignity and the beauty of the human being. Again, I'm not saying that sometimes it's not necessary. I'm not saying the justice system isn't necessary. I'm not saying that the police don't serve a vital and necessary function, right? But there is a reason why you can't point to anywhere in the world where like an authoritarian atheist military dictatorship is seen around the world as like the place we all want to go for a visit, you know?
Right.
Right.
The solution is not more force. The solution is not sufficient violence to enforce a floor of human behavior. It's not, you know, swat the dog until it stops the bad behavior. The solution is the person of Jesus Christ. The solution is knowing who we are, you know, the Imago Dei, that we are created in the image and likeness of God, that we are made with that inherent dignity, that infinite dignity, and that we are made for a purpose, to be loved, to love, for union with God. And I think something Heinlein doesn't get is that if people realize that in and of themselves, well, and we see that in a lot of the Western world that is built on Christianity, that is built on Christian values, that where those values are strongest, you have less need for the police, less need for the state stepping in to enforce that floor.
Maybe we call them high trust communities.
High trust communities, yeah, exactly. Like where there is a baseline of people knowing that they are loved, and loving the rest of the people in their community, and there can still be bad things that happen, there can still be disorder, but at the end of the day, like I'm thinking about the town I grew up in. Nobody locked the door in Thompson. Like nobody locked the door, nobody worried about anything being stolen. Like there was just a level of trust that the worst thing that was gonna happen wasn't gonna be that bad because everybody shared these fundamental values. And I think that is far more effective than using violence to enforce some sort of floor on human behavior.
when the use, I remember like one of my professors when I was doing the Catholic Studies program said that the moment the use of force begins, legitimate authority has ended.
Yeah.
Because authority is based on that voluntary respect, right? That you have trust and you have respect in the institution or in the government or in the parent, right?
Yeah,
And you go to the lowest level of the family, you have trust and respect for that authority, that this authority wills your good and wants what is best for you, and you have bought in from your heart with that, right? Now, does that always work? No, of course not, right? And Jesus said, render unto Caesar's what is Caesar's. Like there is supposed to be civil authority. There is an appropriate avenue when force needs to be used. And for goodness sakes, I am not arguing not to like discipline your kids. I'm the first person, oh my goodness, I look at people like, you need to discipline your kid. Like, I mean, truly, like, I do obviously believe in that enforcement. But when you are talking about raising a human person, okay, you're not just training a puppy. This is a human being, right? Whether you're talking about a child, whether you're talking about an adult, recognizing the Imago Dei, recognizing the infinite dignity of the human being in front of you, right? That they are an entire world in their own mind, that they are a means to their own end, and that the ultimate end of every human being is to be united with God, right? And to have a society that is ordered towards that. Obviously, the floor of basic safety, of basic public order is critical. Right? It's so critical, in fact, that it's the lowest level outcome of a love of Jesus Christ. You know, like if there are enough people in the world that know the love of Jesus Christ and know who we truly are, because our image, our identity has been redeemed through our Lord, right? You're going to, I mean, the minimum floor of a peaceful, safe society is a given. Right? And now you can really start talking about flourishing. You can talk about art. You can talk about deeper beauty. And Heinlein in Starship Troopers is so in love with establishing the floor through military force that when do we get to love? Right? When do we get to human flourishing? That's the problem with every atheist utopia, is that the aim is so low. And a lot of it is this idea that, you know, well, we want a society that focuses on what matters. Right? We don't want to be off on some religious nonsense or spiritual nonsense. What about people's real world problems? Right? People are living in poverty. People are living under oppression. And we want to address real world problems. A lot of that went into the power and the glory, too. Right? And that's totally fair. And the criticism of faith is that it doesn't address those real problems. It's pretty flowery language, blah, blah, blah. Love this, love that, okay. But when are y'all going to feed the poor? Right? Like, you know, or like really deal with real problems. But when we try to create a society that is ordered only towards meeting material needs, it's going to end up devolving into the lowest common denominator. I remember last semester I took a class with Dr. John Bergsma, a Franciscan, and he was saying, you know, a lot of this vision of materialist atheist societies are, well, you know, look, let's just ensure that there's equality and there's plenty. So, you know, you want to make sure that everybody has a 9 to 5. Everyone goes home, they've got a decent roof over their head. Everyone gets a chicken dinner. Everyone gets to smoke crack and watch pornography all night. You know, I'm like, this is Dr. Bergsma that said this, not me. These were his words. But the shock value of that, right? That's the point, is if your goal is to create this society without God, without transcendent values that everyone is aiming for, that are necessarily about love of God and love of neighbor, then you can only create a society that just not only has to use the stick a lot, like in Starship Troopers, but it could also go the way of Brave New World, which is just bribing, right? Just feed people their addictions, feed people their gratifications, and it's never going to be enough. And this floor that you think you're holding up,
Mm-hmm.
it's a moving target because
Yeah.
it keeps sinking lower and lower and lower.
Yeah. And you have to keep putting more and more force, more and more energy into maintaining stability, into maintaining the order. And for what? For what? Like, what is the point? The point is perpetuation of that order, right? Like, so it's we talk about it in the study guide as a closed loop. Like its purpose, it has no purpose. It has no purpose except to keep itself going, and that's not enough for human flourishing. That might be enough to maintain some kind of order for a time, but you aren't loving people. You aren't forming people towards the reason they were created.
What a waste.
Yeah.
What a waste of the human person.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention that use of force to keep people behaving is notoriously unstable.
Right.
You know, people resent it. Again, human dignity resents being controlled, resents being used, resents being an object for the ends of another.
Yep.
So if you're not trying to turn those baby chicks into saints,
Right.
Mommy and Daddy Chick are not going to tolerate that for very long, right?
Right, right.
Yeah. So basically, a society that is ordered towards a military state, a police state, that sort of operates on constantly trying to instill fear into its citizens that, you know, we are the lesser evil. Because remember what it was like before we took power? Remember when you didn't feel safe playing in the park?
Right.
This is not a real answer to some very real problems, right? Is poverty real? Is crime real? Is chaos, anarchy, all kinds of sin, kinds of sin? Yeah, of course. Of course, right? And what do we do about it?
Right.
Right? Well, I think that we've had this idea of, well, let's get rid of God and let's just use military force so that like a smart group of elites can sort of impose what they think is the right social order on people and it'll work out great.
Yeah.
Hasn't happened yet in real life. And every attempt we've made has not turned out well.
No.
Again and again, you can't get around the idea that the human person is precious, beautiful, made in the image and likeness of God, and needs a society, needs families, needs social structures that respond to and honor the ultimate end for which man was made. That's not the absence of discipline. That's not the absence of order, but it is discipline and order and social stability that points us to God. It points us to the person of Jesus Christ. And when you have a vision of a world where that doesn't exist, that's where I think Starship Troopers really is an act of fantasy, right? Like that's where it really turns into science fiction. Because it's not how human beings work.
No.
Now, that said, I did a lot of tearing this book apart. But let's say some good things. Okay, first of all, I love this ability to meditate on these subjects. I love this ability to really think about the subjects. Okay, that's still not a positive thing to say about the book. I thought he did such a beautiful job on describing the psychology of the soldier.
The soldier story is, well, we were talking about this too. It's a timeless story, right? Like the soldier story, like Johnny Rico's story, could be set anytime in the last 5,000 years or the next 5,000 years. It doesn't matter. It's a universal, this is what happens when a young man joins the military. And you see this conditioning towards leadership, towards discipline, towards like a kind of virtue that is real, even if it is not ordered towards the correct purposes. He does gain these virtues to the point where he is able to genuinely lead, to bring order to chaos, and to save the lives of his men. Like he is able to actually do good things because of the training and conditioning he has received under the Federation, and that's real.
And there is a part in his training where he gets that letter from Mr. Dubois, his moral philosophy and history teacher, talking about the spiritual hump that he has to get past. Right? And that spiritual hump is ultimately, are you willing to be the kind of person who, because of your sacrifice, other people can live safe, healthy lives? Right? Are you willing to give up your life so that other people can flourish and thrive. And that's such a beautiful point of growth for Rico. That's the closest I think the book really comes to understanding, that there is no greater good than to give up one's life for one's brothers.
Yeah.
And he truly embraces that. And he wants to become the kind of person that can do that.
Yeah.
And the best part of the book is they make it clear that this is your free voluntary choice. When you become an adult, it's not a matter of compulsion. You don't have to serve.
Yeah.
Right? And in fact, if you don't serve, it doesn't really make, having or not having the franchise doesn't make that big of a difference in any way. He could still be rich, successful, influential.
Yep.
He could have everything he wants, but it is his free choice to do something with his life that matters.
Yep.
Now, I'm sorry, I have to get back to saying the ugly part of it is that in Heinlein's world, the only avenue he has to make that choice is to join the services.
Yeah.
Right? Is to become a soldier. Whereas in our life, in the real world, you can join holy orders.
Yeah.
Right? You can become a priest. You can become a religious brother and sister. You can consecrate your life to the Lord in this life. Like there's the avenues that people desperately need to say, look, I want to do the most meaningful thing I can do with my life.
Yeah.
I want to give it up in the service of the ultimate good.
Yep.
And that's why love of country has to fundamentally be ordered towards love of God and love of neighbor.
Yeah.
Right? And I think Heinlein's getting to that. He's saying like love of country and is ordered towards love of neighbor. It's the greatest form of enlightened self-interest, and it's going to give you meaningful fulfillment. But it's not. It's not in itself.
No. And I can't help but wonder, what would a Johnny Rico look like if all of his discipline, all of his training, all of his purpose was ordered towards a love of God? If he had that transcendent purpose that goes beyond just willingness to die for his fellow soldier or willingness to die for his country.
Well, then you would have the conditions of people that could create real peace.
Yeah.
Like, then you would have St. Ignatius of Loyola, which is what we talk about in the study guide.
Yep.
And Ignatius of Loyola did more to create genuine peace in the world than anyone in Heinlein's concept of the Federation could ever have done.
Yeah.
Right? Because a person operating for true love of God and love of neighbor is going to be able to bring the peace of the Lord to the whole world.
Amen.
So, the point is not just to become the kind of person that can defend the Federation, right?
Yeah.
Like be useful to a military state. But the Lord conditions and grows and forms us and conforms us to his heart to become the kind of people that can create a lasting peace.
Amen.
And that is a vision that no atheist literature or story I've read has ever been able to create.
Yep.
How do you create true soldiers for peace? How do you create true warriors for the Lord that can bring that goodness? And that's what the Lord does, right? Through the saints. We look at every single saint, and that's what they create. And it's so beautiful and so good. And so I really actually loved to read this book for that meditative purpose.
Yeah.
Well, to look at it and go, oh man, but what if Johnny Rico, what if they had the options, of becoming saints?
Right.
What if they had the example of St. Ignatius?
Yep.
What if there was really an opportunity to look at the person of Jesus Christ and say, okay, look at all the options available to me in the world. Now I'm 18, can make my free choice. Well, there's Jesus. What do I need to do to follow that?
Yeah.
Right? Because that's the only thing that's going to answer that real longing, and it's the only thing that will answer all the practical problems in our world.
Yep. Amen.
So, that was my Cardi B moment. Sorry. She's on tour right now, and I'm just like, love her so much.
Okay.
Anyway.
We are going to be discussing Starship Troopers at our discussion group meeting on Monday night, February 23rd at 7 p.m. It's not too late to join. You can go over to our website, www.greatcatholicbookclub.com/join, and you can join up there, give us your information, and we'll send you an invite to the meeting on Monday night, and we'd love to see you there.
Yeah, if we said stuff in this video where you're like, I need to tell them what's up, like show up to the meeting.
Yeah.
You know, we would love to see you there. And it's always free.
Yep.
This is just so we can spread the love of the Lord.
Yep.
And build fellowship and build beautiful community. So we'd love to have you there.
Yep. And if you like what you hear, please like and subscribe, and we'll keep bringing you more content.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you. God bless.